All right, Rob, I said it earlier. The big news, Damian Lillard. Okay, so I'm going to break it down, and then we'll hear from Lillard. But Henry Abbott, as we said, founder of True Hoop, tweets out that in a few days, a source has told him Damian Lillard is going to ask demand, whatever you want to call it, the Portland Trailblazers to trade him. Now, remember, he's got 4 years left on his deal, so it can't be a demand, obviously. He's got to ask him. But they feel the relationship is that strong where, they'll do him a solid and all that. But anyway, I was told earlier in the day that the report, it wasn't going to happen. Like, that it wasn't true. And
that he's not going to ask for a trade. So it was wrong?
they said it was just inaccurate, and so But Lillard came out today and addressed it after the Team USA practice. Here's what he said.
I'll start off the rip and say it's not true. I said the last time I spoke to you guys that a lot of things are being said, and it hasn't come from me. So number one is it's not true, and secondly, I also say that I haven't made any firm decision on, what my future will be. So there's really no need
for. First of all,
for
Rob, his last sentence, I haven't made any firm decision on my future, leaves the door open. And I've been told a few weeks ago that he's going to take some time and think about it and decide what he wants to do. And it appears that he's still doing that, right? He didn't say I made a firm decision that I'm coming back. Now, later on, he's asked all types of questions. He did say, I expect to be in a Blazers uniform next year. He even said, my goal is to play my entire career with the Blazers. But, Rob, if you listen to the press conference, he talked a lot about what is wrong with the Blazers, like what they need to do. He said the team doesn't look good enough where a new coach is going to make them a champion, and they're just not good enough, and the changes need to be made and this and that. And here's what I say, Rob. And I get Dame's in a tough position because he wants to win. But you in this position, you have to be willing to be either Allen Iverson / Russell Westbrook, where while everyone else is trying to chase a ring and join a super team, you're willing to say, you know what? I want to win a championship as much as anybody in this league. But I love my team. I love my city. They've embraced me. This is my franchise, and I want to do it here. And if that means not winning the championship, so be it. But I'm going to go down swinging here. That's what Iverson and Westbrook did. Or you need to be willing to be James Harden or Anthony Davis and be the bad guy and basically just force your way out. Now, Lillard does have 4 years left on his deal. So what I think will happen, Rob, I think he's going to play one more year at least in Portland, give Billups a chance, see if there's any changes, see if they can make any moves that he likes or that make them better. And then if they don't go any further next year, that's when I think he will probably have to come out and be like, I've had enough. It's time for me to move on.
Yeah, I feel bad that it's just weird to me, considering what we're seeing right now with Giannis and Milwaukee staying, bucking the trend, not joining anybody else, and he's on the verge, on the cusp, 2 wins away from potentially winning a championship in small market Milwaukee.
You could even mention Chris Paul, Rob.
Without a super team, huh?
You could even mention Chris Paul. That's not a super team. Phoenix.
No, not at all. That's a good point. That's not. It's a young team that was put together through the trade, through draft and whatnot. Yeah. Exactly. So on one side, it just, to me, this seems weird to me. If this was Brooklyn against the Lakers or something, then maybe I'd be like, and I'm not saying that Brooklyn ain't going to be there next year or the Clippers or whoever, Chris. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it ain't impossible. And, when you don't make that commitment, this is what's going to happen. People are going to keep throwing stuff out until you really make a commitment. And it doesn't mean anything. Even if you were to say, my plan is to stay here. I want to win here. That's my plan. That's what I'm going to do, and we'll go from there. That's all you can say. I remember when Kyrie said he'll stay in Boston if they want me or if they'll have me.
Right.
I didn't take that, Chris, as he wasn't going nowhere. I didn't. The only way you really do that is if you sign a contract and say you're not going anywhere. Other than that, all bets are off. Would you agree with me? I mean, at any point you can force your way out.
When look, it's not the end of the world. Nobody holds it against Kyrie or anything. But when you come out and say, I want to stay here if they'll have me, I mean, it seems like those are the intentions that you want to stay. Now, a lot, that was a year early, so a lot can happen. That's the thing. They didn't play well. They didn't go further in the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? So much happened that it was like, okay, you kind of get it, right?
Yeah, I never thought like he was firmly committed to Boston. I didn't, despite.
Well, he also talked about it. His dad played there. Remember that? I mean, he did throw it on a little thick at times.
No, I'm just saying.
Dad was Boston University.
But it's not until you really sign a deal, you know what I mean, and really make that. It's still open for debate. That's all I'm saying. But it's all good. So Damian Lillard, I'm sure he feels he's in a tight spot. He's made some mistakes, too, when he endorsed Jason Kidd out in public. You don't do that. I mean, you just don't. Because if you don't get the guy, you know what I mean? Now Chauncey's in there. I just think you have to be very careful than to just go out publicly. The same thing. You don't need to undress the team and tell everybody, we can't do this, we don't have that. It's bad, right? Chris. Am I right?
Tough.
It's bad for business. It's
Dame's been a great leader. Everybody loves him, all the players. But you're basically saying these cats ain't good enough.
Right.
And you saw, Rob, in Houston, I mean, DeMarcus Cousins was ticked off with James Harden. You know what I'm saying? Like, you were basically saying, I'm John Wall. I've been a multiple-year All-Star. I'm DeMarcus Cousins. I was one of the best players in the league at one point. And you basically saying we ain't good enough. And it's tough. And so, you know, I don't think it'll be a problem in Portland, but it could be possibly.
It's just
that's what you're saying when you say, right? I mean.
Right. It's not a good look. That's really what it is. And you got to be real careful. You don't know what can happen and what path can open up for you and what player could develop, Chris, and blossom out of nowhere. You know what I mean? And have a year where you go, wow. I mean, you know, the Suns didn't make the playoffs last year. Right?
Thank you.
I mean, let's just be honest. So
let's keep it real. Did anybody think that Golden State team was going to become what they became?
No, not
Klay
at the time.
Thompson's a late lottery pick, right?
Not at the time. I agree.
Pick. No. Yeah, Draymond's a second-round pick. You just got to make it happen. And here's the other thing. Like, Dame is great. But there's a real question, because I think if Dame does go somewhere else, he still wants to be the man. Is he good enough to lead a team to a championship? Like, be the best player on that team? Because, Rob, Chris Paul is seeking to become only the third small player ever to lead a team to a championship. He would join Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry. And that's it. Of all the other great small players, none led a team to a title. Dame Lillard is what, 6'2"? I mean, that's a legit question. And we know, Rob, I mean, to me, I don't know where you're at on this. He's the first ballot Hall of Famer to me. But he has had his troubles at times in the playoffs. His shooting percentage goes way down in the playoffs.
Right. Yeah, I'm at the point where I don't know if it's all about him. I get he's a star player, but ultimately it might be about somebody else coming in and adding the missing point. We saw last year when he was unbelievable in overtime. Remember knocking down those threes in that game, but they wound up losing despite all that. So I get it. I'm with you. He's a great player. I don't know if he's enough. Like Isaiah, when Isaiah led the Pistons to championships, and he had a great supporting cast. I'm not knocking anybody, but no other top 50 player. That's just a fact, right? That's just a fact.
Absolutely. You know what else, Rob? I'm looking at the playoffs this year. We know they lost. Look, they lost to Denver without Jamal Murray. All right. It was Jokic and his guys versus Dame and his guys. And Damian was great. He had a 55-10 game, a 42-10 game, a 34-13 game. Guess what, Rob? Those were his 3 highest scoring games.
And they lost all those games.
A 37-5 game. Yeah, his highest scoring games, 55, 42, 37. You said it. Lost every single one of those games.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Won one game when he scored 10.
Right. And I remember, right, there was when they 2 years ago, Chris, when they were in the when they got to the Western Conference Finals, right? That was 2 years ago. Right before the bubble.
State.
Before the bubble.
Golden
right?
State.
And I remember in that game 7, he didn't have a good game, and they won and got, you know what I mean?
The conference. Oh, you
right,
might be talking about.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
there.
game 7 to get to the Western Conference Finals.
You're absolutely right.
They made it, and he didn't play that well in that game.
He had 13 on 3 of 17 shooting.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. And they still won.
They won. Yep. So that shows you, I mean, and Dame, look, he getting 10 assists, 13 assists, but some of it is he's ball dominant, and that can be, even though you're putting up huge stats, you still may not be getting everybody involved and everybody's a part of and that's one thing. If I'm Chauncey, Rob, I'm trying to come in and put in like a 5-man system. Because I just think that's better than a 1 or 2-man system.
And Chauncey knows it because he played on a team that won a championship doing that. Where it was different people every night. And they were, stars in their own right, but it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Blue chip talent. I mean, Chauncey obviously was one of the
I'm
best
not saying
high school players in the country.
Right,
no, I'm backing you up.
Right.
He was a high lottery pick. Was he the 3rd pick in the draft? I think.
Yeah, he was.
Rashid was an All-American and a top lottery pick. And then you had Rip Hamilton was a star in college.
Won a championship at UConn, right?
They were big time talents. So, all right.